Hey guys, Merry Xmas, if applicable, and upcoming Happy New Year. I'm recording this on December 27th. Today, Princess Leia died, which is, yeah, pretty sad, I suppose. 60 years old, heart problems. George Michael died a couple of days ago, and yeah, I would guess probably from heavy duty partying when they were young, weakens the body, the heart, and it comes to get you later on in life, depending on how much you did in terms of partying. And it's clear that both these people were heavy duty partiers. Anyway, so in this vlog, I want to talk about why I had shut down my forums. I had forums on the Killer Sites website, killersites.com/forums. And I had them going for well over a decade. Very popular forums. At its height, we'd have 1,000 people visiting the forums every half an hour. And the reason I shut them down is because it was a lot of work. We'd have anywhere between 5 to 10 moderators working on it, volunteers, most of them, and just to keep everything clean. Deal with spammers, well, mostly spammers, and always having to update the software. It was just a pain. So now, what I'm seeing since I've been more active with the YouTube channel since July, if you notice the amount of views I get on the channel has tripled in the last 5-6 months, going from 30,000 views in aggregate, well, over 100,000 views a month and growing. So that's kind of cool. So thanks if you are subscribers. It was an experiment, as you know. So with this activity on YouTube, I figure we can have all the forum conversations there within the YouTube comments. And they have all the moderator tools built in, and people could initiate conversations within the comments. So that's kind of cool. And I think that's probably the way to go. What's something I noticed in the last several years is that people like their particular social media site or service. So for instance, if you're a YouTuber, you tend to interact mostly on YouTube. You might do a little Twitter, you might do a little Facebook, you might do a little Instagram. It depends, but generally I find that people tend to favor one particular platform or the other. So YouTubers do to YouTube, etc., etc., etc. I have a Twitter feed, but it's like I got like only 1,000 followers there. And I post, I just link it up to my YouTube channel. I just auto post, but I'm not really a big Twitter user. And no offense towards Twitter. It's just the way it is. I'm much more, in terms of social networks, it's pretty much YouTube for me, I suppose. Facebook, my grandmother's on Facebook, including me, so it's not exactly, I don't think it's the audience for tech people. Although there are a bunch on there as well. I got the Facebook as well. But anyway, going off on a tangent, what I found is that instead of people going to sites, they rather engage with individuals like me through their preferred social media outlet. Some on Twitter, some on YouTube, Facebook, etc., etc., etc. So having them come to the forum, some people want to try to join the forum. I have the newest forum, because I had different versions of the forum when I wanted to upgrade from one forum software to the other. I would just archive the old forum and then move on to the new one. Anyhow, we went through 3, I believe, in the life cycle of Killer Sites. The last forum, I just have it now on lockdown, where people can't really post any, well, they can't post any questions. I can't let people they can't join. I don't confirm any memberships, and I posted all over the forum. I said, we're not taking any more subscribers. If you have questions for me, do it on YouTube, send me an email, Twitter, and I answer there. And it's kind of cool. It saves me a lot of headaches in terms of managing this community. So it's kind of cool that way. It was interesting. Years back, for me, and the old model of the web was to bring people to your site and have them come to your website. And that's still applicable for many people. But I think that today, I'm not so married to the idea of having them come to my site. As long as they're consuming my content, whether it be on YouTube or Twitter or my site, I have my vlogs on killersites.com and StudioWeb. That's cool with me. Doesn't bother me any particular whatever choice you make in terms of where you consume my content. That's all cool with me. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that in terms of the forums. Just in case you're wondering, the Python course is coming along very slowly. I've been distracted by all kinds of different things related to work. But I did get my final prop for the Python course. This is cool. Yeah. Now, I couldn't find a Python-specific coffee mug, so I had to go with this rattlesnake mug. But whatever, you take what you can. And so this is the final prop for the Python course. Very important for my course. So I had to, I was very happy to get this. And I had to have this special delivered because they wouldn't ship it from the US to Montreal to Canada. So I had to ship it somewhere in the States and have it shipped up here. That's how much I wanted this mug. The last bit of this vlog, I want to talk about something that was a couple of conversations that were going on in the some of the comments with regards to coding languages and syntax. And the individual was asking about would it make sense to go with Node, since you write your Node apps, your Node-based apps rather, with JavaScript, and then you could use JavaScript on the client, meaning in the web browser. So this way, he was saying, you don't have to worry about syntax of having to use two different languages. Say, if you use JavaScript on a web browser, which is your only choice, and maybe if you did PHP on the server, or you did Python on the server, or you did Java on the server, and perhaps having it all be JavaScript saves you some headaches in terms of syntax. So my comment on that is that syntax, generally speaking, is the least concerning aspect or the least difficult aspect of working with languages, generally speaking. It's more of the structure around the languages, the frameworks, and the libraries that's come with the languages, the API behind the languages, that are much more of the problem spots, if you will. So I personally don't see any major advantage of using JavaScript on the server, i.e. with Node.js or Express.js if you want a full MVC framework on top of the Node engine, versus, say, JavaScript on the client in Python, Django, or Python Flask on the server, or JavaScript on the client, or PHP on the server, etc., etc., etc. Because at the end of the day, the syntax, the actual code that you write, is not the difficult part. It's understanding how the language works, and the API and the libraries and the frameworks that come with the various languages, and how stable they are, and how mature they are, and how consistent they are, is what really separates easy to use languages versus more headache-prone languages. So JavaScript Node is something you want to use if you really need high performance type of web apps or apps, and that's where that comes in. But you can get pretty good performance very good performance with PHP and other environments. And in terms of other languages like Java or some Java Web and so forth, again, for 99% of apps, I would argue that you don't need super high performance that you get with Node. That's really for some very narrow type of work. I think for most of us out there, PHP 7, especially with PHP 7, which is much faster than PHP 5, and then Python, Django, Ruby, Rails, Java Spring, you're going to get plenty of performance in all of these languages / frameworks, for just about 99% of apps. So there you go. That's my take on that. Don't be so concerned about the syntax. Be concerned about all the libraries and frameworks that come with a particular language choice that you make. And I'll close with this. Having been a JavaScript coder since '96, I have to say that I would argue that, not what I would argue, Python code, though it doesn't run as fast as JavaScript, especially on the server, as far as I know, there might be some new developments in the Python world, but as far as Python 3.5.2, which is the version I'm building this course on, the Python codes, the Python syntax is actually easier, a lot less work to do in that regard. It's a little bit more intuitive to work with. And in fact, Java code, though, is much more verbose, meaning there's a lot more code to write. Java code is actually much easier to work with because it's a more consistent language in terms of how the code is written, how you access the libraries, and so forth. I know it's I'm not going to get into examples here, but anybody who's done Java and JavaScript will tell you that's the case, even though Java is far more complex than JavaScript, generally speaking. All right, bye-bye.